Group walked close to an old man who was more aware than any of them. He was old, but his gaze was sharper than any young man. Nothing escaped his sight, not the path of the wind, not the tracks of animals. The people of the group believed that he spoke to the spirits of trees and stones. But the truth was experience, was memory, was knowledge, knowledge that still had no name. The old man stopped. He lowered his head close to the ground and touched the soil. It was dry, much drier than the day before. He fixed his eyes on the sky. The clouds had shrunk. The water was receding. Danger was approaching. Humans still had no word for famine, but they felt it. So they took a longer path, a path toward a valley from which the sound of a river came. But nature always takes its toll. One of the pregnant women could not bear the weight of her steps and fell to her knees. Her breathing became rapid and silent. Everyone was afraid. If she fell, they would lose both herself and her child, a child who might be the future of the tribe. The young man looked at the old man. A decision had to be made. Stay or continue? The old man was silent for a long moment. A fierce battle was raging in his eyes between humanity and survival. And this was man's first moral conflict, a crossroads that humanity has reached time and time again in history. Save one person or save all. But suddenly, a cry was heard from afar, an unfamiliar and frightening voice. The humans held their breath and turned towards the sound. The trees moved aside and large shadows appeared. Bright eyes trembled in the darkness. They were not strangers. They were other humans. But they were not similar. Larger bodies, stronger arms, longer heads. These were another type of human, humans that the world would later know as Neanderthals. Their gazes locked. There was no common language, no clear intention of friendship, only silence, a silence that hid death within itself. The old man stepped forward. He raised his hand, a sign of peace or a sign of warning. No one understood, because a moment later, the terrifying roar of one of the Neanderthals broke the silence. He raised his hands, stamped his feet. The message was clear. This is our territory. Our humans retreated. But despair did not enter their hearts. They would find another way. Because humans always find another way. When they had moved away and taken a safe distance, the young man looked at the old man again. Had he made the right decision? The old man whispered something that was perhaps the very moment of the birth of a great belief. If we fought them, we might win, but we would destroy the future. And this was the first spark of human wisdom. Night fell quietly and silently. But their minds were not at peace. They understood a great truth. In this world, they are not alone. And from this moment on, a competition began that changed the fate of man forever.
Daily life of early humans. The earliest humans lived in small groups, usually 20 to 30 people. They were always on the move and had no permanent residence. Their main goal was simply survival, finding water, food, and a safe environment. Their most important daily activities included gathering fruits and plant roots, hunting small and sometimes large animals, escape from more powerful predators, caring for children, and moving around. This lifestyle is called hunter-gatherer and lasted for thousands of years. Evolution of stone tools. Early humans used hard stones such as flint to make tools. A precise blow would make the stone acquire a sharp edge and become a tool for cutting meat, skinning animals, breaking bones and eating bone marrow, an important source of fat, digging the ground to find roots. The development of tools is a very important sign of the growing intelligence of humans. Communication and language. During this period, there was no complete language, but humans used sounds, hand movements, and gestures to communicate. Slowly, sounds took on meaning. Communication improved. Cooperation became more advanced, and this cooperation was the starting point of human culture. The emergence of the concept of leadership. In early groups, the one who had more experience, hunted better, or knew more naturally took on the role of leader. This was the first human social structure that later became extended family, tribe, community, and eventually civilization. The importance of fire. During this period, fire was not yet completely controlled, but it has been seen that humans used natural fire, such as lightning, keeping warm at night, keeping away dangerous animals, and light to continue working in the dark. The complete control of fire later became one of the greatest revolutions in human life. Clothing and body protection. Initially, the body was completely uncovered, but by living in colder regions, humans used animal skins, leaves, and natural fibers to make clothing. This allowed them to leave Africa and enter colder climates. Birth of the concept of family. Mothers spent more time caring for their children, and men usually had the task of hunting. This division of roles became the basis of human social structure. This cooperation for survival was the main difference between humans and other species. Summary of Part 1. Evolution of tools equals increased intelligence. Group cooperation equals formation of society. Use of resources equals expansion of territory. Competition with other species equals natural selection. Control of fire and cover equals beginning of great migrations. Humans were slowly becoming the most powerful species on Earth.
Early humans were always on the move. There was no permanent home anywhere. They woke up every day, looked around, and only one question was on their minds. Am I going to starve today? Survival back then meant finding food, water, and temporary shelter. Small groups of 20 to 30 people stayed together because loneliness meant a quicker death. People understood from the very beginning that they were nothing without each other. Food was the most important concern. They spent most of the day searching for fruits, seeds, and roots. Hunting large animals wasn't always possible, so smaller animals, or the remains of other predators' prey, were also valuable. Stone tools, which were very simple at first, gradually became sharper and more efficient. It was these small changes that shaped the future. Every precise blow on a stone showed that the human brain was finding new ways to solve problems. Over time, cooperation improved. Humans learned how to communicate with each other through sounds and gestures without a full language. When danger was imminent, a short cry was enough to let everyone know they had to flee. This simple communication later gave rise to the complex languages we know today. Language allowed experiences to be passed down from generation to generation, and mistakes were less likely to be repeated. They were not alone in the world. Other species of humans also walked the earth. Some were stronger, some had bigger brains. Contact with these groups was not always peaceful. Sometimes there was competition for food and territory, but sometimes there was cooperation or even mating. That is why many humans today have traces of Neanderthals in their genes. That is what evolution is all about: mixing, competition, selection, and survival. In each group, there was usually one person who had more experience and was better at hunting or finding their way than the rest. He became the leader without being chosen by anyone. His decisions could save dozens of lives. This was the first form of leadership and the foundation of human social structure, what later led to the formation of tribes, communities, and great civilizations. At first, clothes were very primitive, animal skins to stay warm on cold nights. When humans realized that clothing could protect them from the cold and wind, these clothes evolved and made it possible to migrate to colder areas. Where other animals could not survive, humans found a way with their thinking and creativity. Fire was not yet fully under human control, but whenever lightning burned a tree, humans gathered around that fire. Warmth, light, security, things that were an impossible dream before fire. Later, the control of fire allowed humans to eat cooked food, grow their brains, and gain new abilities. Along with all this, the concept of family and caring for each other was also formed. Mothers needed help to care for their children, and this help came from other members of the group. This empathy and cooperation made humans different from other animals. Survival was not just about hunting, it was about staying together. They learned that a longer life meant more time to learn and pass on experience to the next generation. Slowly but surely, humans were becoming the most powerful and adaptable creatures on Earth. They had no strong teeth, no sharp claws, but their brains were creating new solutions to every problem. Every day, a small step was taken towards the future. A future where skyscrapers were built, cities were formed, science and art were born, and this same man who once trembled in the darkness would light the world. Humans began to realize that the world was much bigger than they could see with their eyes. When food supplies in one area became scarce, they would move without hesitation, searching for new lands. These constant movements were the beginning of the greatest adventure in history, a journey that took humans from the heart of Africa to all continents. Without maps and without sophisticated tools, they found their way only by the signs of nature: the sunrise, the course of rivers, the shape of mountains, and even the flight of birds. These long migrations were not only about food. Humans have always been curious. When they did not understand something, they sought to discover it. It was this curiosity that did not allow humans to remain confined to a small corner of the world like many other species. With each step they took, they discovered new things, new plants, different animals, and dangers they had never experienced before. Over time, the climate changed. The ice ages began, and the extreme cold destroyed many creatures. But man was too clever to give up. He wrapped himself in animal skins, built better shelters, and considered fire his most valuable friend. When wolves howled and predators lurked in the darkness, fire shone like a banner of survival, driving death back. At the same time, hunting also changed. Man learned that if he went in with a plan, he could defeat even large animals. Cooperation and strategy replaced brute force. A few people would scare the animal, the rest would block the escape route, and in the end, the group would win. This cooperation was the basis for the formation of trust among humans, the trust that together they were stronger. As the human brain developed, a new thing came into life: imagination. Man began to imagine things that did not exist. The sky became full of mystery. The sound of the wind became a riddle. Humans began to find answers to unknown phenomena. This same effort to make sense of the world later turned into beliefs, legends, and ultimately religions. Alongside the hunters and warriors, there were also people who thought more. They observed the sky, the animals, and life itself, and learned something from every day. These people were the first masters of history, people who passed